Tell you what, if you're a Steelers fan, you couldn't have asked for a better weekend, especially considering the team wasn't even on the field. While players were off enjoying their break, scattered across beaches or slouched on couches somewhere, everything else in the AFC North collapsed around them like a house of cards in a windstorm. It was one of those rare NFL Sundays where absolutely nothing could have gone better for Pittsburgh. The rivals? All of them took brutal losses. And not just losses, embarrassments. The Browns, Ravens, and Bengals all fell flat in their respective matchups, making the Steelers' record of 3 victorias and 1 row to shine even brighter heading into a critical part of the season. Now, we all know it's early. Week 5 doesn't hand out trophies. But the contrast between the Steelers' momentum and the chaos surrounding the rest of the division is staggering. Let's start with Cleveland. They're supposed to be the team finally putting it all together, right? Except they looked completely out of sync against the Vikings over in London. Then there's Baltimore, who got completely dismantled by Houston. At home, no less. And the Bengals? Well, their loss to the Lions wasn't surprising to anyone paying attention this season. Cincinnati's offense looked flat, and the defense wasn't much better. Put it all together, and you get a combined scoreline across those 3 games of 102-51. That's not just bad, that's double bad. Literally a 2-to-1 ratio. So here we are, 5 weeks into the season, and Pittsburgh is sitting atop the AFC North. That's not just a fluke of the schedule. It's not luck. It's not even about playing great football. It's about surviving the early storm better than your rivals. Sure, the Steelers didn't look like world beaters in those first 3 games, but they found ways to win. And in the NFL, especially in this division, that matters more than anything else. The rest of the North? Injuries, inconsistency, questionable coaching decisions. You name it, they've dealt with it. The Steelers, meanwhile, have had their quarterback from day one. That stability under center is already giving them a massive edge, especially considering Joe Burrow is out, Lamar Jackson is hobbled, and the Browns, well, they never really had their guy. And before anyone gets too carried away with the standings, let's be clear. Nobody's claiming the Steelers have arrived. Nobody's saying the division is wrapped up. That would be absurd. There's still a long way to go. In fact, the next 2 games will be pivotal. First up, a matchup against Cleveland next weekend. And then, a quick turnaround with a Thursday night game in Cincinnati. These are the kinds of games that either validate your early record or expose your weaknesses. And that's what makes this stretch so intriguing. Baltimore, for instance, has to take on a Rams team that's better than people thought. That's not going to be a walk in the park. And given how banged up the Ravens are, far beyond just Lamar and Roquan Smith, they're walking into that matchup with very little gas left in the tank. That's the thing with the NFL. Injuries are part of the deal. Every team gets hit eventually. But when you lose your quarterback or your key defensive leader, or both, it changes everything. And that's what the rest of the AFC North is going through right now. The Bengals are trying to survive without Burrow. The Ravens are patching holes across both sides of the ball. And the Browns, well, again, their quarterback situation is still more of a theory than a reality. Meanwhile, Pittsburgh may not be perfect, but they've had stability where it counts. And if, heaven forbid, something happens to their starter, they still have Mason Rudolph sitting there, ready to step in. That might not excite people, but in this division, having a healthy backup is more important than ever. What makes all of this more compelling is that Pittsburgh's flaws are fixable. That's not just blind optimism. That's looking at the film and seeing areas of real, tangible improvement. The offensive line, for example, has been shaky, sure, but it's not beyond repair. You make small tweaks. You give Spencer Anderson some reps. You line up Darnell Washington tight next to Broderick Jones and let them maul people in the run game. Boom. Suddenly your blocking issues don't seem quite so catastrophic. And defensively, it was never about lack of talent. It was about tackling. It was about guys doing their job consistently. And that's starting to happen. The communication is better. The cohesion is improving. The fundamentals are finally showing up on tape. Nobody's predicting a perfect season. Nobody's saying the Steelers are about to steamroll the rest of the schedule. But they're trending in the right direction, and that's more than you can say for the rest of the North. If you had told anyone in August that by early October Pittsburgh would be in sole possession of first place with a winning record. While their rivals were limping around with injury reports that looked like phone books, they would have taken it in a heartbeat. And not just because of the standings. It's because of what this team is showing in terms of upside. This group isn't anywhere near its ceiling. If you look at the roster, not just the names, but the potential, it's impossible to argue that they don't have another gear. In fact, you'd have to be ignoring reality to think they've already peaked. Think about it. They haven't even had all their key players healthy at the same time yet. And when that happens, assuming it does, the team's potential goes up another level. Add to that the fact that young players are gaining experience fast, sometimes painfully, but still learning, and it starts to feel like the Steelers are setting up for something bigger down the road. And no, it's not a guarantee. This league doesn't hand out anything easily. But again, if you had offered this exact situation to Mike Tomlin back in training camp, flaws and all, he would have signed on the dotted line immediately. Because what they've got right now is a team with room to grow and a division that's already bleeding. Even the injuries Pittsburgh has dealt with so far haven't thrown them off course. They've missed key defenders, sure, but they've managed. They've adapted. They haven't used those setbacks as excuses. And for all the criticism this team took in the first few weeks, that resilience counts for something. You look at how some teams fold when adversity hits, how quickly things fall apart, and you start to appreciate the value of just keeping it together. Even ugly wins matter, especially in this league, especially in this division, and especially when the rest of the AFC North is falling apart at the seams. And here's where things start to get even more interesting. Because while the Steelers have definitely benefited from the chaos around them, it's not just about what the rest of the division has failed to do. It's about what Pittsburgh might still become. That's the real conversation now. Not just who's sitting at the top of the standings, but who has the tools to actually build something sustainable out of this early success. And the Steelers, flawed and inconsistent as they've been at times, look like the team with the clearest path forward. You can see the foundation, even if it's not finished yet. You can sense the upside, even if it hasn't been fully tapped into. And more importantly, you can tell that the players themselves believe they haven't even scratched the surface. You watch how they've responded to early setbacks, how they've adjusted without panic, and it gives you a different vibe from last season. Yes, they've had rocky starts before. Yes, they've looked good through 5 games before. But this time, there's a different energy. There's a level of self-awareness that maybe wasn't always there. Nobody's pretending they're elite yet. Nobody's handing out championship banners. But there's a sense that this group understands what it takes to climb and stay there, rather than just hoping it happens. That's huge, especially when your opponents are still trying to figure out what direction they're even facing. Now let's talk quarterback play, because whether fans want to admit it or not, that's been one of the biggest separators this year. While the rest of the AFC North has scrambled with injuries or just plain inconsistency under center, the Steelers have had one constant. And that matters. It's not just about stats. It's about leadership, communication, rhythm with the offense. And having that in place, even if the execution isn't always perfect, has been a quiet strength for this team. You're not going to win many games in the NFL these days if you're running through backup quarterbacks or changing your offensive identity every other week. That's what Cleveland's dealing with. That's what Cincinnati is dangerously close to. And even Baltimore, with all their talent, can't seem to catch a break with health. It all adds up. Pittsburgh, meanwhile, has been able to at least try to build continuity. That's how teams improve. That's how schemes evolve. And that's how you start to really see what kind of ceiling your group has. It doesn't mean the offense has been great, because it hasn't. But there are pieces. And more than that, there's accountability. Guys know where the problems are. The coaching staff knows where the breakdowns have been. Nobody's pretending this is a finished product. But that recognition is the first step to fixing it. And from everything we've seen and heard out of that locker room, it seems like this team actually believes they can fix those issues. That's not always the case in this league. A lot of teams talk, but not many really buy in the way this group is starting to. And the defense? It's starting to find itself again. Tackling was a problem. It's always a problem when defenders start diving at air or taking bad angles. But they've responded. They've simplified things. They've focused on fundamentals. And it's paying off. Communication is tighter. Players are moving with more confidence. That's how you build a real defense. Not just with talent, but with trust. And the Steelers, when they play connected defense, are still one of the toughest groups in football to deal with, especially when the pass rush gets going. That changes everything. It masks issues in the secondary. It forces turnovers. It shortens the game. And while they're not at full strength yet, the signs are encouraging. It's not about dominating every snap. It's about finding consistency, about giving your offense a chance every week. What stands out, too, is that the coaching staff hasn't panicked. No rash changes. No throwing guys under the bus. Just steady, calculated adjustments. That kind of stability is underrated, especially in a division where other coaching staffs are already dealing with pressure. Tomlin, love him or hate him, knows how to keep the ship steady when the waters get rough. And right now, that might be the biggest advantage the Steelers have. They've weathered the storm of early season doubt and emerged in control, not of the league, but of their own trajectory. And that's all you can really ask for in early October. If you zoom out and look at the big picture, there's still so much that can happen. Injuries will come. Surprise results will shake up the standings. A lot of football still has to be played, but the Steelers have positioned themselves better than any of their rivals. That's the reality. Not because they're playing perfect football, but because they're playing smart football. They've kept things from spiraling when they easily could have. They found ways to grind out wins when the offense sputtered. And now, they're heading into the heart of the schedule with a chance to separate themselves even further. That's not nothing. There's a lot of work left to do, no doubt about that. But this is the kind of situation teams dream about after 5 weeks. Ahead in the standings. Healthy enough to compete. A roster full of young talent and veteran leadership. A defense rounding into shape. And most of all, belief. Not just from fans, but from inside the building. You can hear it in the way players talk. You can see it in the way they prepare. There's a seriousness to this group that suggests they know the opportunity they've been given, and they're not planning on wasting it. And one more thing, just for those who still aren't sure what to make of this team. Upside. It can't be said enough. The upside is real. There are teams across the league right now that are already close to their ceiling. You know what they are. You know what they can do. But with the Steelers, that picture isn't complete yet. And that's a good thing, because it means there's still more growth to come. There are still levels they haven't reached. And if they start to hit their stride over these next few weeks, especially in these divisional games, the narrative around this team is going to change fast. So no, this isn't about printing playoff tickets or crowning anyone champions. It's about seeing progress. It's about seeing potential. And for the first time in a while, it feels like the Steelers are not just surviving. They're building towards something. Whether that turns into a division title, a playoff run, or something more, time will tell. But what's happening right now? That's real, and it's worth paying attention to. But before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and hit the like button on this video. Your support helps us keep bringing you the latest updates on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And don't forget to share your thoughts on the news in the comments below. The rumor mill in Pittsburgh has gone into overdrive this week, and the latest whispers suggest that the Steelers might finally have closed one of the most talked-about sagas of the offseason. Chris Olave, the dynamic wide receiver who's been on the lips of analysts and fans alike, is reportedly en route to Pittsburgh to potentially assume the role of WR1. The news, still unconfirmed by official channels, has already sparked an electric buzz around Heinz Field and social media alike. Sources close to the team hint that negotiations, which have been described as lengthy and complex, may have reached a turning point in the past 48 hours. Olave, known for his precise route running and explosive speed, has been a coveted target for multiple franchises this year. For the Steelers, who have been searching for a consistent top receiving threat, his arrival could signal a new era in their offensive strategy. Fans are imagining the potential combinations with their current receiving core and wondering how this could change quarterback dynamics moving forward. While the details of the deal remain murky, figures, contract length, and bonuses are still the subject of speculation, the excitement surrounding Olave's possible debut in black and gold is undeniable. Conversations in local sports bars, podcasts, and online forums are already abuzz with comparisons to past Steelers greats and debates about how quickly OLAVE could make an impact. Some insiders suggest that his presence might even influence draft and trade decisions as the team positions itself for a playoff push. Of course, the nature of NFL rumors means that nothing is set in stone until paperwork is signed, and fans are cautioned to temper their excitement. Yet, the mere possibility of OLAVE joining Pittsburgh has created a palpable sense of anticipation in the city. The Steelers, a team historically known for their receiving legends, could be on the verge of adding a name that will have supporters buzzing for years. If this deal comes to fruition, the rumor that has been swirling for months would finally be reality, and Pittsburgh football might never be the same again. Stay tuned. The next few days could confirm what's already dominating every Steelers conversation. Chris Olave to Pittsburgh, WR1 status, and a franchise ready to take a bold step forward. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to keep receiving exclusive news about the Pittsburgh Steelers, make sure to subscribe to Steelers Nation Central and give this video a like. We always look forward to hearing your comments and opinions. See you in the next video.